bold representation for me personally is about being able to show up authentically and knowing that I have a seat at the table, and that I have a voice that matters. And I also have the opportunity to ensure that other voices are there. I bring them in with me.
Welcome to The Future We Want, a podcast for rebellious leaders ready to get to work, do the work, and create the future we want. I'm Raphael Bemporad, founding partner of BBMG, a branding and social impact agency that works with leaders that won't wait on things that can't wait. On today's episode, I speak with my dear friend, colleague, and inspiration, Shawn Outler. As Chief Diversity Officer at Macys, Inc., Shawn is helping the iconic retailer harness the power of social purpose to transform the business from legacy to leadership.
It was hard for me to find mentors. It was hard for me to find people that looked like me in roles and that I wanted. So I really quickly started to think about this idea that I could help others learn about it and figure out how to excel.
Welcome to The Future We Want with Shawn Outler. I'm so honored to chat with you today. We met just about a year ago as Macys began a very, significant conversation about thinking about the future of its social purpose in the context of so much leadership over decades around cause marketing and community partnerships and colleague volunteering, which was really very much best in class. And what could have been a more communications-oriented kind of conversation very quickly went to depth and to a level of integrity and core corporate strategy. And I want to just acknowledge and give you personally so much credit for that for a lot of reasons. One, your stewardship of the diversity, equity, and inclusion work at Macys over many years has helped, I think, give the organization so much clarity and confidence and ambition. And on the other, I think just the space that you held with Bobby and Jeff and other members of your sort of transformation team to think about this work and to think about social purpose, not as a stick-on communications thing, but as why we show up, who we are, and what it means to be a leader and a retailer in the 21st century. Your soul, your spirit, your integrity has been the core of this all the way through. And for our whole team at BBMG, it has been literally one of the greatest blessings, one of the most incredible experiences, and a glory to be part of, to see an organization steward change. It's not easy, but so beautifully through all its imperfections and all of its steps forward and sideways and back. So I'm sorry, very long-winded way to say hello, but I just wanted to let you know how close to our heart you are and how grateful we are for what we've been able to work on together.
Well, thank you. I'm almost speechless by your compliment. And I just appreciate that the team really recognized, for me, just how incredibly important this is and the true meaning of the work. And my team can tell you, I say it all the time, that you cannot put the words before the work. And I think once you've done the work and you start to craft the words, it's incredibly important that you land that in the right way, because it's done with intention. It's done with a level of meaning. There's truly, to your point, integrity really at the core of everything. So it's just critically important to me that we really shared and stood it up, this social purpose, in a way that just really honored all of the work that had been done and really that we had in front of us.
Amen. It feels like this moment for Macys was also like this happened in part because a Shawn journey and a Macys journey came together. And so I'm curious, if you don't mind, to tell us a little bit about your story, your journey to this moment.
Yeah. So listen, I come from a lineage of very optimistic, innovative, entrepreneurial, and, I'm in retail, stylish people. But I think entrepreneurial is key here. My parents built a oil and heating company at a time when, Black people just didn't really own a lot of businesses. And, we call my father the mayor of our town, but everybody knew him and continues to know him for the work he's done. And I think that, the level of integrity that comes along with that. And so in building customers and relationship. So I think my parents taught me hard work, dedication. They taught me the importance of your values and integrity. And they've been central to who I am and how I operate.
What would you say is a lesson from your parents or your dad in particular that you feel like is right with you all the time, that you're carrying with your team or with your friends or even in your own life? What are some of the things that guide you? We
talked the other day, my dad, we talk all the time. Everyone says I'm the son that he wish he had, right? It's pretty funny. But I think, every day, all day, my dad leads with this level of honesty and truth. No matter what you do, forge ahead with integrity. Everything else will fall in place, right? Be true to who you are and do not compromise for anyone or anything. And that will help chart the course for you. It's going to lead you down a certain path, right? It may be one unexpected. Maybe you would have wanted A, but you got B based on that decision. But at the end of the day, you will be able to live with yourself and go to sleep every night knowing you've done your best with this real core level of integrity and value. So don't ever lose that. Don't ever lose that. And so I live with that every day.
It's so beautiful. And with that inheritance of humanity and the example your parents have set, you could do so many things with your professional life in so many different fields. And you have focused your energy and your impact leading DE&I at Macys. And for all the things you could be doing, why that role and why Macys for you? Why has it been so meaningful for you to be where you are right now?
Yeah, well, I would say my path to DE&I is a little bit different than most. I grew up in retail. I knew early on I wanted to be in the business, and it really wasn't as, I would say, grandiose of an idea as to why. I couldn't find clothes that fit, that really suited my style and who I was. So I really wanted to be one of those folks who determined what the selection looked like in store. And I just felt like I could probably help dress many other people. I mean, that's really where I started in this game. And so I entered the industry not knowing anyone really and trying to figure it out, if you will. And I realized along the way that was really hard. It was hard for me to find mentors. It was hard for me to find people that looked like me in roles in that I wanted. So I really quickly started to think about this idea that I could help others learn about it and figure out how to excel. I think at the time that I was thinking about being a buyer, most folks only thought about retail in the sense of who's leading the store, who's selling the merchandise, not who's buying it, right? Who's planning it, who's allocating it, if there's marketing involved, legal involved. So I guess thinking back to the legacy of my dad is like educating others about all the opportunities in the business and the idea that they could be a part of it. And no matter what you wanted to do, if you want to be a lawyer, there could be a place for you in retail, right? If you want to be an accountant, which was my initial major, you could do it as well. So I think educating our community about the opportunities beyond what you see in the store and the selling environment became really, really critical for me on my journey. So I started in stores. I was in stores for about 6 years, store leadership. I went into the buying office and quickly ascended, really leveraging the experience that I had in stores. My understanding of the customer and how they shopped and what they looked for was critically important. Then I became a divisional merchandise manager. So I led a buying division, and boy, was that like a huge deal. That happened at Lord & Taylor. I was the first Black divisional merchandise manager at Lord & Taylor in 2001. That was monumental at the time. Like, wow, it was a big deal. It was overwhelming for me. But I said, what a responsibility, right? To now be that person for others that I needed when I was entering the industry to demonstrate to others that it was possible. So I was really excited about that. So I did that. I went to Macy's in the same capacity. And when we consolidated operating divisions, they asked me to come back to New York from Atlanta and to lead multicultural initiatives. And so didn't really know what that was, had a lot of conversations with our current CEO, Jeff Gannett. He was chief merchant at the time, and Terry Lundgren, who was CEO. And they talked to me about, hey, there's this new emerging segment of customers. We know the country is becoming more diverse. Everyone at the time, it was about 2009, 2010. Everyone was thinking about 2020, right? When demographic shift was going to happen and the tipping of the scales, and we were going to change the language around minority to underrepresented because the numbers are going to look different. And so we got to work to think about, what we could do. We understood that the merchandise opportunities for this diverse customer was going to be different. And so we really focused on supply chain. So really thinking about diverse-owned businesses that we could bring into the fold. We had a number in mind as to how many and how big that business could be. I did a lot of work and analysis based on my history as a merchant in stores and said, hey, it would take us a long time to do so, but we could educate and prepare vendors who had great product to do business with us or others in the industry. So I created a workshop at Macys in 2010, a program that educates, prepares vendors to do business with and be successful and grow in the retail industry. To date, the program is still in place. We've trained over 170 companies. We've launched a significant number across Macy's and Bloomingdale's. And some others have gone on to do great business with other retailers. But it really was about building a pipeline of viable players who could sustain business and grow. And also, at the end of the day, satisfy emerging needs of the emerging customer. So that's kind of how I got to dip my toe into the space and started to develop this DEI muscle. So fast forward, Jeff Gannett becomes CEO. And about, 6 to 8 months within his tenure, he calls me up and he says, hey, DE&I is one of my 4 priorities as CEO, and I want you to lead the work. And I have to tell you, for me, it was a little bit of a shocker, having been in the business, having grown businesses successfully. I really wasn't sure. But I thought about it. And I thought about where we were in our journey and what impact I could have, right? I had run businesses and different functions and had impact on different parts of our business. But this, to me, will give me a tremendous opportunity to impact all stakeholders, really our colleagues, and how we thought about who we were, how we interact with each other, and work for the customer, our customers, right? And how what they saw from us, the products that we would deliver, their experience in our stores, our marketing, and all of that. And then I thought about the business opportunity and the growth opportunity that could potentially be there if we tapped into this in the right way. Ultimately, I was thinking about it like a business. And I think that was a little bit different than maybe others had approached the work before, solely focused on, say, colleague and, maybe some unconscious bias training and some others. I thought about it in a more expansive way. And just so you know, we were doing a lot of work before this, right, within the organization around diversity and inclusion. But I wanted to unify an organization around our common vision, mission. We had 5 focus areas. How do we really put real measurement behind and objectives behind the work so that we could set our sights on initially best in class, but also goals. Like what would successfully look like for us if we did this well? And so that was my approach. I treated it like a business. I really came up with language that every colleague, no matter where you sat in our organization, from a store's selling associate all the way through to our CEO, you understood it, you can get behind it, and we can move our organization forward. I feel like today we are a different organization. If you speak to anyone, they feel it. They see that we're different. We are focused on inclusion for everyone and providing opportunities. And so I'm happy about the work that we've really kind of been underway since 2018. But that's how I started. That's how I got into this space.
Shawn, what is so powerful is that the background that you had from so many different perspectives in the retail space, retail industry, allowed you to meet the DE&I vision and opportunity from the core out rather than from the surface in. And so that you could use the engine of the business, the leverage of the business, the power and influence of the business to truly drive impact. And that is such a transformational opportunity. I am curious, the way you were talking 14 years ago with the team about a 2020 horizon line, and here we are, 2022, but 2020, the year itself, a health pandemic, a racial justice reckoning, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, the summer of the Black Lives Matter movement, although that had been for many years before, since Ferguson and even before. And the climate crisis reaching just a point where we're at this tipping moment. And are we even going to be able to mitigate versus purely adapt? Mm-hmm. And so here, as we start to think about the social purpose of Macys, it's in the context of so much challenge and change. And I'm just curious, as you look back on the year of 2020, what's on your mind? And what do you think has changed since 2020? And honestly, what hasn't changed?
So I'll tell you, 2020, pivotal. I think there were so many companies and organizations and individuals leading those organizations who really saw the world differently post all those different events, murders that you just mentioned. And there was this heightened awareness, right? And this awakening. And many corporations and companies alike really now thinking about their role in the work. So making certain declarations about how they're going to be different, anti-racist, and also get involved, right? So where I think we as a company and many were internally focused, right? And I think you said it well. We went in when I started, right? I think prior to me, we were doing certain work, partnering with some folks, right? You know how it goes. You go to galas, you support different events. But it was different when I started. We went in. We wanted to do the work internally and then have it show up in a way externally that was meaningful to all of our constituents, right? That really spoke to our values in a different way. 2020 for us was about going outside now and taking an external focus about driving and focus on driving sustainable change. So we became a part of CEO Action for Racial Equity, which is a coalition of companies really focused on having impact on the 47 billion Black Americans in America, changing policy around that. There were many companies who decided to do similar work, knowing full well that a significant part of our country was at a disadvantage and we needed to do something about it. And all that was highlighted and uncovered from COVID and, everything that happened in 2020. So yes, I think a lot of folks put leaders in place like myself, talked about what they could do differently, start to map out plans and roadmaps around the work. But I will tell you, I think today is a time in which we're kind of going back and checking on that? Did everyone really deliver? What's really happening? I wonder when I think about everything that is happening in the world, right? The war in Ukraine, the inflation being what it is, that this mid-tier of customer being really challenged in this moment, and that has impact on business, right? I wonder where folks really are. I remember a time where, this work was easily put on a shelf when things got tough. I wonder if in this moment, if some of these organizations or people in general are thinking about putting some of this on the shelf. I hope that's not the case, right? I think about the election, right, and the confirmation of our new first Black female Chief Justice, that with that in mind, I'm always optimistic that that isn't the case and that folks really still understand the meaning and the importance of this work and we stay on track. So those are the things that I wonder about in 2022, when things seem to have settled somewhat, when the conversations are not as loud, when many folks aren't making as many declarations, what's really being done? So I think that it's going to be up to, and I think what's going to help keep it moving is that it's becoming materially important to customers. They really want to understand what companies that they, engage with, what brands they work with, that they're still there and they're doing the work. I think from an employment perspective, I can tell you, folks are asking the companies that they're interviewing with, what are you doing? What is your diversity strategy? What progress have you made? I don't think everyone is expecting us to be at a finish line, but work in progress and real concerted effort, I think, is really important. I think the third element here is that the shareholders, those folks on the street who own, right, invest in various organizations are really asking the questions and becoming a lot more demanding of organizations that they invest in about their work in this area. So I'm hopeful that folks are still there and doing the work, but I am concerned with so many other competing priorities, whether or not the level of focus remains high.
Right on, because for many years, you're laying the foundation from the inside out, rooted in the business, seeing DE&I not as a box to check, but a reason to be. And
That's right.
2020 changes the conversation and changes the game. And in that moment, Macys, and in part rooted in this conversation about social purpose and social mission, not only seeks to respond, but seeks to lead. And here, just about a month and a half ago, so proud to have been a partner with you, but Macys brings to life a transformational vision for the business and the industry called Mission Everyone, which is rooted in creating a brighter future with bold representation for everyone, with more voice, choice, and ownership for customers, colleagues, and communities. And at a time where folks were trying to figure out what they might do, and as you said, maybe some said some words in 2020, and now what? I'm very inspired by you and the team that Macys has not just doubled down, not just tripled down, but gone all in and made bold representation not only a social mission, but a business mission, the core purpose of the business. And I'm curious, what has this meant for you, this journey to Mission Everyone? And what does bold representation mean to you?
Yeah, well, I'm so excited about what you just said. For us, our mission really sits above our business strategy, right? Our business strategy may change, but who we are and what we stand for and how we deliver against our mission is always going to be paramount, right? To create a brighter future with bold representation, it is the filter through which we should be doing all of our work. So that, to me, I just think it's everything. Bold representation for me personally is about being able to show up authentically, And knowing that I have a seat at the table and that I have a voice that matters, I think is just critically important. And I also have the opportunity to ensure that other voices, the voices of others are there. I bring them in with me. Bold representation is about meaningful representation, like the breadth of it, right? It's people want to see themselves. It's about meeting the customer where they are instead of dictating or telling them, right, who they should be and what they need, and recognizing individuality and identity are strong drivers. And we can't lose sight of that. And I think that is what's going to fuel our business and all that we do. So that, to me, is really going to be our secret sauce. I really believe it to be true. An example today of one of our buyers, she buys dresses. Quasia King, I have to give her credit. She is a member of our Divine Nine Black sororities. I am as well, Delta Sigma Theta sorority. She's from Zeta Phi Beta. And she recognized this opportunity around the apparel for the sororities. And she developed a line of dresses in the exact colors of all the sororities, right? And worked with Casper, one of our vendors, to create this amazing line. If we did not have Quasia in a decision-making role, that would not be the case. We're going to do an estimate to do $10 million this year with one dress collection, one brand based on Quasia King and her perspective and her knowledge of a consumer that, quite honestly, traditionally we never would have understood nor addressed. That is what this bold representation and brighter future is all about. And that's just one example, tip of the iceberg. I'm just so excited by it. That really is what we hope for. More of that.
In the last month, you've shared that with Mission Everyone, you are investing $5 billion with a B, like wow, like boom.
Right. Boom and bold and billion.
Yeah, like bold, exactly. They're all good. Into diverse and underrepresented people, partners, products, programs to create a more equitable and sustainable future for retail. And just like you shared with this beautiful new collection, with more voice, more choice, and more ownership for everyone in the whole business. Tell us a little bit about like the journey to a $5 billion commitment and what that means now and where it's going.
Yeah, so we've laid a lot of the foundation towards this $5 billion commitment. I talked about the workshop. That work, finding these diverse-owned vendors, was core to the work and really created such a great starting point for us in terms of what we need to do. We actually went back and looked at the opportunity in the space and what we could do. You know, we have a number of diverse-owned businesses that we believe could be really important to our business. So looking for the right players to help us grow in that space, really important. So when I think about this $5 billion commitment and partners, that's really important to the work. I think about some of the brands that we're doing business with today who we're really doubling down on and saying, hey, what does future growth look like? How can we do it together? So these 5-10-year plans, thinking about how the customer is responding and what that looks like. So there's so many folks kind of engaged in the work today. We've kind of taken it to a more collaborative perspective. It's merchants, it's stores, it's my D&I team, it's finance, it's everyone getting in on the game, if you will. You know, we talk about planet as it relates to that $5 billion and our sustainability work. We have tremendous opportunity to grow that. We've started, we're on our way, we're building that strategy, but we know there's tons of opportunity with diverse and sustainable brands that have product that we're going to get after. So again, so much opportunity, a lot of groundwork already established, a lot of great folks working on it. But, we've mapped out annually what this looks like and then working feverishly to figure it out. So really excited about that signature. It is our signature commitment. It's the core of the work that everyone's engaged in right now.
And what I really appreciate in the ambition to 5 billion is that the whole team with Mission Everyone and bold representation, it changed the game and raised the stakes for how this ethos, this mission can be at the core of who we are and what we do. And as you had shared before, you had laid the foundation. If you look at the Macy's Human Capital Report about diverse leadership in positions of leadership and director and above, you have laid the groundwork with the minimum pay rate of $15 rolling out literally this month everywhere, a fully funded education for your colleagues across the system.
Listen, you remember it.
That's great. My God. This is what I love about it is it's deep. It's all the way at the core, and it's not just words. It is really, really the bigger reason why, and it comes to life in everything.
It is. And you said it well. It's really deep. It touches on every aspect of our business. I say that everybody's is in on the work. We can't do this unless every colleague is really invested in the work. You mentioned 30% representation, ethnic diversity at the director level and above. We know that we want to reflect the communities that we serve and the customer that's engaging with our brand. I do believe we need our customer at the decision-making table, right? That's how we're going to bring our brand's purpose, a personal style source, to bear. I mean, I go back to Quasia and this idea that these women really want to express themselves in a certain way. She understood that. So if we have more people who understand some of these nuances, right, of the customer that is becoming so much more meaningful and important to our mix, I know that's worth so much to our business. And I said it yesterday in a different meeting. It's got to be worth market share, right, and volume. But it also really, really helps us stand up who we really believe we are, right? Again, brighter future with bold representation, and we are your personal style source. These three elements, these three things are inextricably linked. And so I just think about the magic that happens when they're all working in concert, when we really get this right, when we have a leadership that's reflective, when everyone is educated, right? You talked about guild and leveraging that great skill in whatever function they choose to work in and are really excelling, right? And in the roles that they choose, that they believe is most meaningful for their path in the future, and they're being paid appropriately for that work, that creates a culture and an organization that I think is bar none. So really excited.
One of the key elements of Mission Everyone is a mantra and a manifesto that is titled, "The Future Needs You." Needs your voice, your creativity, your style, your expression, your poise, your steel, your purpose. And so this podcast, as you know, is called The Future We Want. And so with The Future Needs You and the future we want in mind, what does a radically better future look like for you?
Ooh, okay. Listen, I see a future where my nieces and nephews don't have to have the conversations that we've had of late. They don't have to worry about whether or not the world will receive them or will allow them to fully be who they are. I want them to be in a state of disbelief when we talk about what we did in 2021 and 22. Okay, I want them to really think that that is like impossible because they are able to fully live their lives in an authentic way. that's meaningful to them, that provides them with all the opportunity that they ever desire. And they could just live their own purpose-driven life with a level of freedom that I think maybe doesn't exist today. So I want a better world for them where they just get to be, where they can exercise this talent and their strengths and make an impact as well.
Amen. And as you say that, Shawn, to me, it really connects the dots between bold representation being the connection between authenticity and liberation.
Yeah.
All right, some fun questions to wrap up. All right, if you could speak with your 20-year-old self,
Ooh.
what one piece of advice would you share?
Well, first and foremost, you are worthy of all that's really possible for you and all the goodness that's available. I would say trust your gut, always stand in your truth, and appreciate your unique perspective. I don't think I always did that. In my younger days, I second guessed myself, and that first gut thought was always right. And I also would say that there's value in that unique perspective and share it more often. I held on in my early days to those thoughts and some of that intuition. No more, as I'm sure you and the team have witnessed.
Shawn, it is a glory to be together as ever. I'm so inspired by you. I absolutely adore you and feel so grateful that luck and fate and history brought us together in a way where we could create magic, so thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Raphael. You're the best.
Shawn, you're the best. All right. Be well.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to The Future We Want from BBMG. We've been speaking with the awesomely inspiring Shawn Outler, Chief Diversity Officer at Macys, Inc., and the visionary force behind Mission Everyone, the company's $5 billion commitment to creating a brighter future with bold representation for all. If you enjoyed this episode, we hope you'll subscribe and spread the word as it helps more folks find the podcast. For more information about our guests and an in-depth case study of Mission Everyone, visit bbmg.com. The Future We Want podcast is proud to offer a shout out to our friend Dana Snyder at Missions to Movements. Digital marketing and social media trends seem to change every day. It can be hard to know where to spend your time, energy, and money to make an impact. To hear the secrets from behind the feed, check out Dana Snyder's podcast, Missions to Movements. She shares real-world digital marketing case studies from organizations making a positive impact in the world and short-form episodes with actionable social media tips to implement right away. Whether you're looking to enhance your social media strategies, launch a big campaign, or just hear some great advice and feel inspired, check out Missions to Movements. The Future We Want is produced by Liz Courtney. Original music and audio production is by Go Destroy Art. See you in the future.